Everyone, and welcome to the fresh class where we will see the all in URL query and the difference between in URL and all in URL. So first, we will understand what is all in URL. If you start a query with all in URL, Google will restrict the results to those with all of the query words in the URL. For instance, say for example, we have an example, say Google search. Okay, so it will return only documents that have both Google and search in the URL. Okay, so let's understand it practically so that we will get the important understanding of what is all in URL and the difference between in URL. Now let's type in URL colon music. Hit enter and see the number of results, which is approximately 24 million, I guess. Alright, if you just scroll up, you'll see all the in URL which is having music. Okay, now type in all, first of all, just see the number of results and now type in all in URL and hit enter. And now see the number of results. Can you guess the difference? No, right? Now we can see, like, now what's the difference? In URL and all in URL both are having the same amount of results. So now let's try with two words in the query. Type in URL colon house space music and hit enter. And now see the number of results. And if you are looking in URL colon house music, it will show all the URLs which contains both house and music, and all URLs which will contain either house or music. Okay, so we are having all the URLs which are having either house or music or both in their URLs, right? So we have in the result, you can see there are 34 million results. Okay, now let's check if there is any difference between the capital letters or not. Let's see if we just change the small h to capital H and see. Okay, so this is confirmed that there is no much difference because the result is coming same with the small letters as well as capital letters in URL. Okay, so now we understood that in URL, if we have two search queries, say for example house, and the result which we will get from Google is all the URLs will be there which will be having either house or music or both in the URL. Okay, so there are variety of results coming up, either house or music or both. So that's why we are getting approximately say for example 34 million results, if I'm not wrong. Okay, this is an approximate result. And now try to type in all in URL colon house comma music. And also one very important thing, that the letters, the for in URL, for specifically in URL query, the caps and the small letters does not make any difference. Okay, so if for in URL query, it's okay to, if you are using capital H or small h or any, regardless of the letters. Okay, so now type in all in URL colon house space music. Now before that, for only in URL, we had received a result of approximately 34 million. So 34 million, right? Now let's type in for all in URL and see the number of results. So we are looking for all in URL colon house space music, and you see that it will show only URLs which contains both house and music. And the most important thing, the search result, you can see the number has been lowered and now only approximately 1 million results are there with both house and music in their URL. Now can you imagine the power of googling? So now we are very much clear that in the difference between in URL and all in URL. Once again, I'll try to explain it in depth. Like for only in URL, if we are having only one query, so there is no much difference between in URL and all in URL. But if we have two word query or two words query in URL or in all in URL, then we're gonna see that main difference. So basically for simple in URL, which we have tried in this example, we have tried for house and music, so we received approximately uh, somewhere around 34 million results which were having either house or music or both in their URL. But once we changed it to all in URL and made it specific to only house music, and the result is in front of you, the result for all in URL has been shrunk to only approximately 1 million results are now coming up in the Google search, and these results for all in URL containing house and music both in the URL. Okay, so have you ever tried such thing earlier and made your search accurate and specific to what you're looking for instead of getting tons of millions or say billions of unwanted search results? So don't worry, we have much to come in our course, and my main aim is to make you confident in Google Docking and get your exact results within seconds. So stay tuned and see you in the next class.